Happy Friday afternoon, friends. Matt with Eddie's Guitars coming to you as always from St. Louis, Missouri. And we've got a very fun live stream for you folks today. This is a live stream episode 59. And as I said, we sure appreciate you joining us here today. We are going to be taking a look at some of our favorite small body acoustic guitars in the shop. You might remember from a while back, we took a specific look at a lot of our parlor guitars that we had in stock. We often feature a lot of OMs and triple O's and dreadnoughts and stuff like that. So we kind of wanted to bridge the gap between, say, like a parlor size guitar and kind of OM and larger. So we're going to be taking a look at a lot of concert size guitars today, a lot of double O's, stuff like that, small body guitars. And as I said in our live stream announcement, these are guitars that are made to be sort of extra sensitive, extra responsive, not have to be wound up a whole bunch to really get a lot of sound out of these guitars. And the first guitar that we're going to start with today is the beautiful little Furch OM SR. This is the Vintage 1 series, the Vintage 1 OM SR. SR is going to designate the wood selection for this guitar being spruce and rosewood. And we'll take just a quick look here at these tone woods here. We do have a Sitka spruce top on this guitar. Really nice looking silky Sitka spruce there. Looks like it's got just a touch of, no aging tone or anything, just a touch of natural color to it, which is really nice. Bound in ivoroid binding. And a beautiful set of very straight grain East Indian rosewood for the back and sides. And as you can see as I move it in the light there, this is sort of a matte or a satin finish guitar. This is a particularly luxurious feeling sort of satin treatment that they do all over the guitar. The top, the back, the sides, the neck, the whole thing is has that same finish on it, which is really nice. You can see the slotted headstock on this guitar is very sharp, especially with that nice, powerful Furch logo all the way up top there. That's sure a handsome headstock there. Got kind of an aged nickel Godot tuning machine, open gear tuning machine on this guitar as well. Really, really sharp stuff. This has the standard 1 3/4 inch nut width. This has the standard neck profile from Furch as well. 2 3/16 spacing down here at the ebony bridge. And this is basically kind of their 00 12 fret size guitar. I like that they did the matching slotted headstock with the 12 fret neck joint here. Very kind of a traditional look overall. And again, kind of a almost, we can say sort of borrowing a little bit of the sort of 28 style with the spruce and rosewood ivory binding on the body. Nice simple rosette with a nice wood rosewood strip in there as well. So very tasteful little guitar here. We've had several of the spruce and mahogany versions of this guitar. This is the very first rosewood back and side example that we've had. I was a big fan immediately of the mahogany back and side versions, and this has even a little bit more information hitting your ears with that nice rosewood back and side on this guitar. Particularly warm bass for a nice small size too. Full sound indeed. Folks, as always, my good friend Mr. Alejandro is joining us behind the controls today. Say hello to Alejandro there.
What's up, guys? How's it going?
We're going to keep right on moving. We've got some, well, as I said before, some real beauties on the wall today.
Oh, yeah. Do you have a question from chat?
Sure.
Ian Cummings is curious, where are Furchs made?
The Czech Republic. They are turning out some really not only fantastic but very reasonably priced guitars, considering a lot of the features and kind of build style and quality that they possess. Complete side note, and I don't mean to sidetrack that question, but it is related. A couple weeks ago when we were at the Fretboard Summit, I had the opportunity to meet Mr. Bob Taylor for the first time, which was an absolute delight. And without prompting him or asking him at all, he enthusiastically brought up Furch guitars and how great of a job they're doing in terms of their production, as well as, responsibly sourcing the materials that they get and just the output that they're able to put out and quality control. He made special note of really appreciating what they were doing, which I appreciated hearing myself. I thought that was pretty cool. So they are made in the Czech Republic, though, Ian, and good to have you here as always. Got another non-domestic guitar off the wall, and I have to just go out of my way and say I have been beyond loving the guitars that the folks at Atkin Guitars have been sending us. We've got a number more guitars on order with them that we're going to be expecting kind of trickling in over the next several weeks here, but we've got some pretty darn solid offerings, and again, especially kind of in that medium to small body size right now in our inventory from Atkin Guitars. This is the O12S model, and this is part of the Dust Bowl series from Atkin Guitars. Think kind of Depression era kind of style guitars here, all mahogany, as you can see. They do such a lovely job of kind of aging their finishes, giving you those nice kind of vintagey looking lacquer checks throughout the entire finish on their guitars. Just exceptionally well done. And they really have a broken in, mature feel to them right out of the gate. And this is another guitar that looking at, again, the entire package, it's a pretty reasonable price that they're getting for a model like this. So and sound wise, I think they perfectly match just the vibe that they're very much so trying to create, that vintagey, broken in kind of vibe. Really has that strong forward mid-range presence. Quality to that sound. Houndra, let's take a gander at this thing. You're already there. Never mind. As I said, we've got Honduran mahogany all around on this guitar. And once again, as I hover that reflecting light over the finish, you can see how intense the sort of checking is throughout that finish there. And you can certainly feel it in there. It doesn't feel like it's going to flake off or anything like that. If you've ever handled a vintage guitar from the, 1940s, even 1930s, it's really a very similar vibe and feel all the way around. You can see that there is no binding on this guitar, just adding to the, again, kind of Depression era kind of vibe to this. Very stripped down, really not much of anything in terms of ornamentation on a guitar like this, just made to put the sound out in a pretty spectacular way. Once again, you can see another beautiful slotted headstock here with that Atkin logo all the way up top. I like how they kind of put that on there. It's not an inlay, more of a decal that they put on the face of the headstock there. We also have Godot tuning machines, open gear tuning machines done in nickel on this guitar as well. Really nice. This guitar does have the 1 3/4 inch nut width. It also has the 2 1/4 spacing down here at the Rosewood bridge. We also have an Indian Rosewood fingerboard. And I'll tell you, the neck on this guitar is fantastic. Again, really beautifully matching the vibe of what this guitar is going for. It does have a V profile to it. It's not like a triangular V profile the way some of those like really early Gibson necks were in the 30s, but definitely has a V profile to it and tapers into just a bit thicker of a neck as you get towards the body up here. So it's definitely a manageable neck, but you can tell it's definitely going after a vintagey kind of a thing here. And if I haven't already mentioned that this guitar is very light, let me tell you, it is very light, as a good all mahogany guitar should be. Fully scallop braces, small maple bridge plate in here. And there is just nothing holding the sound back from this guitar. It's just continuously pumping out. Great vibe to that guitar.
So does Atkin have a bolt-on neck and a truss rod, or is it an old school construction?
I believe these are bolt-on. Let me see. Yes, I can see some little plugs. It is a bolt-on neck, and they do have adjustable truss rods. That's a good question.
Staley said, Dust Bowl, oh man, I hope that isn't an omen.
Oh, yeah, no kidding. No kidding about that.
Jason Caruso wishes that these Atkins were available in Australia. Very keen to try them out.
If they are, take a road trip and find one. I would highly recommend it.
From June, they've been curious about a 000 Sinker Rosewood / Mahogany Santa Cruz that's in our shop.
Oh, yeah.
Does that not qualify as a smaller bodied guitar?
Well, that's a great question. I would consider that to be kind of a medium body. Again, what we were kind of thinking OM and smaller, not as small as getting into like the parlor models. But as I mentioned before, so much of what we order, so much of what I order here, honestly, are OMs and 12 fret triple O's, because they're always amazing from the builders that we represent, and they're typically very versatile guitars, whether you're playing fingerstyle, doing a bit of rhythm, versatile guitars. So when you're building a really exquisite instrument, you want it to be able to do several things at least, to make it worth the purchase. But we ought to do a kind of a specific medium body, and then we'll have all our favorite OMs and triple O's and stuff like that, grand concerts and so on. This was meant to be a little bit more small than than your 12 fret triple O. But that Santa Cruz, just on a side note, is scary. That is a very scary guitar. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, you're good. Charles was curious if a guitar needs to be played to age well.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, especially when a guitar is new, it doesn't, how can it realize it is a guitar? It's just been bent and cut into all these odd shapes and suddenly has 160 pounds of tension per square inch on it. And they really want to vibrate in order to kind of change. And simply putting string tension on a new guitar will change it within a few weeks, just having that tension on there. But beyond its initial sort of figuring itself out, they do want to be played and vibrated. And, that's why there's kind of so much marketing, not only marketing, but just discussion around the tone right devices, the newer Tone Traveler from Dr. Herringbone, which is a pretty fascinating little device. And of course, same old thing when you'd stick your D28 in front of the hi-fi stereo speakers, and blast Pink Floyd into it to get that top really vibrating and the strings vibrating. Same idea. They will continue to do what they're supposed to do the more that they're played or vibrating in some fashion.
And last one, Chris wants you to make a definitive decision between these two guitars: the Bourgeois Touchstone OM or a Martin OM 28.
Personally, 10 times out of 10, I would reach for the Touchstone Bourgeois OM. And I'm not just saying that because I am admittedly, unapologetically a Bourgeois fanboy. That's not the only reason I'm saying it. I am that. In the OM 28's a great guitar. Don't think that I'm knocking Martin. I'm certainly not. The output of how many OM 28s are made by Martin is a lot greater than the output of how many Touchstone vintage OMs are made in conjunction between the Eastman facility and of course Bourgeois guitars, where all the actual tops are voiced and then they come back and all the quality control and final setup is done there in Maine on those guitars. We've had and I've played all of the Touchstone OMs, the vintage series that we've had through here, and I would gladly own every single one of them. Seriously, no joke. I frankly am most excited about the new ones coming out, the Country Boy series from Touchstone. They're doing the Country Boy Dreadnought and the Country Boy OM. I am really looking at that OM pretty hard. I've got to say, is sort of not the world's most expensive mahogany OM, but haven't played one of those yet, but I'm anxious to try one of those out for sure. So, good question. Perhaps the best definition of small body guitar off the wall today. We've got the Iris CH here. And Jandro, if you don't mind, please remind me, the top on this is European spruce?
Correct.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't going to misstate that. This is the Iris CH. This is a distressed model, of course, with this beautiful tobacco sunburst. Let's take a quick look at this while we've got you there. So small it can fit totally in that frame, even up close. It's a very petite little guitar with a really, really cool, almost like an old squash kind of pumpkin shape, or in kind of a pear almost kind of a shape to this guitar. Really like the silhouette of this. As we said, European spruce top underneath the beautiful tobacco sunburst. I absolutely love that fire stripe pickguard on the face, showing the sunburst underneath. Ivory body binding on this guitar. Just a very subtle burst to the mahogany back on this, barely there. There's just a slight dark edge around the rest of the stain on the mahogany there. And as you can see, that's very much so kind of a open pore aged finish on these. And again, the idea with the finish on these, similar to the finish on the Atkin guitars, is thin. They do not want a whole bunch of material dampening the vibration of this wood, which is what gives you the spectacular sound. We've got another excellent headstock. I've talked to a number of people that this isn't necessarily their favorite headstock, but I got to tell you, I sure like it. Really bold iris logo there with the little bit of artwork coming off the top and the sides of that. We've got the Golden Age restoration tuning machines done in brass on the back there, 3 on a plate. 1 3/4 inch nut on this guitar with a nice, comfy, wide 2 5/16 spacing. That's sure a nice guitar to play, and it's its petite size is a lot of fun. The bridge is just way far down in the lower bouts here, which is nice. Real crisp sound, but still has a meaty, kind of a lower mid-range to it that gives it some nice old warmth. European top over the mahogany, I think, is doing a really good job in this small body platform. Wish I could do some little bit of bluesy slide stuff, because I think this thing would absolutely bark and scream with a little bit of bottleneck slide on there. It'd be really cool. Once again, we got to get Graham in here for a live stream.
Yeah.
Have him shred a little bit.
What's your recommendation for a tone right application? About 2 weeks?
Yeah, I've used, I think about 7 days is sort of the recommended kind of starting time on a tone right. And do be aware, just the nature of it vibrating your strings for hours and days on end. Be prepared to change your guitar strings after the treatment you've done with one of these devices, because it does tend to dull the sound of your strings, take some of the brilliance out, which can be a little misleading when you're judging, hey, did this thing do something over the course of the last week or so that it's been sitting here shaking? Just the sound of the dead strings alone can be misleading. So be prepared to kind of do a string change after you do that. And as I've shared with folks before, the most success that I've had with a tone right device personally is with the lightest possible guitars. So a real heavy, real dense guitar probably won't benefit quite as much from a device like that. In a similar sense, a stiffer, for example, Adirondack top, even if you're playing it a lot, is still going to take longer to break in than, say, a European or Engelmann or Sitka Spruce usually. So similar idea. So good question.
And do you know when those Touchstone, you said the Country Boy, do you know when those might be dropping?
I thought they were shipping almost immediately, unless I misunderstood with the folks at Bourgeois. But I think within the next couple of weeks is when the first orders will be going out to dealers, and I believe we're pretty, we'll be among the first receiving those Country Boy models. And a great Sitka top voiced right over good Honduran mahogany, man, is it's not magic. It's it just works.
Yeah. And one last one before we get into that. Hans is curious if you've had the opportunity to play a Martin CEO 9 or a CEO 7, and if you could share your thoughts on.
I've played many CEO 7s. I'm sure I've played a CEO 9. I'm not recalling my impressions on it. I've played a lot of CEO 7s, though, and the CEO 7, if you are familiar with that model, it looks a lot like a Gibson L00 in terms of the shape, and it's got a sunburst on it, and it's kind of deliberately going after that vibe of the guitar. Don't be confused, though. It very much so still sounds like, a good Martin guitar. It's stepping over into the Gibson voice so much, but it does look the part of that kind of L00 kind of vibe. Nice thing about that guitar, aside from the standard Sunburst that it comes with, is it comes with an Adirondack top at a very attractive price point compared to a lot of other guitars coming with Sitka tops or now Engelmann tops in some cases from Martin. So that was always kind of a nice attractive feature of the CEO7 was the Adirondack top over that Mahogany back and side set, which was a nice, gave it a little bit more punch than some of the other Spruces out there. But the CEO7's a great guitar, was always a very strong seller for us. We have a highly refined guitar now. This is from Collings. This is a 002H traditional. As you can see by the darkened top here, this is a baked Sitka spruce top on this guitar. One of their baked models. Let's take a look at these woods there, Andrew. A beautiful baked Sitka spruce, if you don't mind me saying. A lot of medullary ray, a silking happening there. Very three-dimensional top, kind of glistening there. Very sharp stuff. And again, very, hence the name, traditional look to this guitar. It's got the fine herringbone border around the top there, if I can show you up close. Grained ivoroid body binding. Beautiful wood fiber rosette there around the sound hole. Tortoiseshell pickguard. Of course, the two style guitars from Collings are typically always Rosewood back and sides. This is the East Indian Rosewood. Very beautiful set. I like the kind of variance in the darks and lights back and forth in the back set here all the way across. Really sharp. Almost has, not quite, but similar to like Madagascar Rosewood that we've seen, but very, very clean looking wood here. Got another beautiful sharp looking slotted headstock, and I love the ever so subtle gold mother of pearl that they use on the Collings logo, specifically for the traditional models here. It gives it just almost a touch of patina to the look of this guitar, even though it's not aged or anything like that. We've got open gear nickel Waverly tuning machines, again very traditional with the kind of the butterbean style knobs there. Really nice look. This has the standard 1 3/4 inch nut and the standard 2 5/16 spacing down here at the ebony pyramid bridge. We've got the split diamond and square fingerboard inlays. This is considered the short pattern, only going from the 5th fret up to the 9th fret here. They also have a long pattern that was done on other models, but this is the real traditional short pattern here on this guitar. We've been carrying the Collings traditional models as long as Collings has been producing traditional models. And when they were doing, the traditional in conjunction with the baked tops, the baked Sitka ones, for whatever reason, are the ones that always kind of spoke to me. The baked Adirondack is great as well. The non-baked top guitars are fantastic as well, but these baked Sitka pretty consistently tend to speak to me. a perfect balance, if you ask me. Just a beautiful split between your fundamental note and, again, just that rosewood spaciousness around it, the kind of harmonic complexity, the depth there. Very charming ring, kind of up top. Man, that's a good voice.
Jim Barely is curious, what is everyone's go-to travel guitar? I think I know what you're going to say. But
yeah, I
mean,
you know what I took up to Chicago a couple weeks ago, the old McPherson Carbon Sable.
Yep.
I'd be curious what people in the comments say, what their go-to is.
We're getting some Rain Song carbon fiber.
Nice.
Yeah, Rain Song Parlor. Maybe like a Yamaha FG800.
I mean, that's another, to me, that Yamaha FG is another just so obvious choice. I mean, it's not a guitar you want to plan on deliberately destroying or not caring about, obviously, but for the investment on that guitar, that sure is a lot of guitar. I mean, it just is.
Yeah.
The folks at Yamaha were at the Fretboard Summit, actually, and it was pretty cool to see the kind of latest and greatest offerings that they had brought with them there. That stuff is not to be ignored at all.
And Dan was wondering if any of these guitars remind you in any way of what Waterloo is doing right now.
Yeah, and we've talked a little in the past about how, like, especially the Iris guitars are. It's definitely not the same thing by any means, but it's fair to compare the two. Collings, of course, is sort of the parent brand, if you will, for Waterloo guitars. Dale Fairbanks is sort of the parent brand for Iris guitars. The Iris and the Waterloo both don't really compete from a price standpoint with their parent companies, if you will, but both relatively sort of economically priced guitars for being handmade, American-made guitars. Yes, they're not giving them away for $300, but for what you're getting in those handmade guitars, they're economically priced for what you get, I think. Stylistically, there's a lot to compare about the Iris with the Waterloo, just in terms of the style of the actual models that they're doing, the bursts that they do, some of the sort of Gibson, but not necessarily Gibson, meaning like, Kalamazoo, stuff like that, inspired models from both companies, which is a lot of fun, getting your sort of little bit off the beaten path kind of vintage models, inspiring some of these newer guitars, which is pretty cool. We're going to play an Iris here in a minute that it's actually the first model of this Iris that we've had. Not to get ahead of ourselves, but it also has some tone woods that we've never had on an Iris guitar as well. So it's pretty exciting guitar. But the Iris is the one I would compare with the Waterloo, if I didn't already make that clear. Another very refined instrument here, man. The voice of this one. This is a 0014 from my friend Jeff Jewitt. This is a beautiful guitar. And Hondro, this is not like me. I'm going to ask you one more time to remind me the top species on this. I don't remember if it was Adirondack. Okay, that's what I thought. Let's take a gander at this here, see if I can save us from fingerprints before we embarrass ourselves here. As you can see, a beautifully sunbursted Adirondack spruce top on this guitar. Of course, the color or the color finish game is very much so Jeff Jewitt's game. So he is a master finisher. and of course produces many of the finishes and pigments that a lot of other companies out there, such as Santa Cruz, Gibson, Fender, Martin, go on down the line. A lot of these companies buy his finish. And of course, because he has such a deep, deep history, both creating and spraying finishes, he is quite the master at finish work, as you can imagine. It's a beautiful sunbursted Adirondack top. You can see that really colorful abalone rosette just absolutely bursting out of that burst. Back and sides on this guitar are a gorgeous stained maple back and sides with a lot of three-dimensional movement to it as you kind of move it in the light there. Beautiful kind of caramel color stain to the back of this guitar on the maple. We also have a flame maple neck with that kind of caramel treatment done to the center of the neck with a bit of burst on the headstock and the heel, tying in with the colors of the actual top of the guitar. Got a ebony veneer on the face of the headstock, of course, with that Jewitt logo up top. We've got nickel Waverly tuning machines, very classily tying everything in together. And I failed to mention the tortoise shell binding on the body of this guitar as well. Is very, very sharp. Tortoise shell against that sunburst really looks good. Some great colors working together. Let's pick out for this guy. I might need to borrow this one to record some stuff.
Man, I was going to borrow that one.
Has kind of the classic short scale 24.9 inch scale length, typical of a 14 fret double O typically. Beautiful warmth, man. That is a sound. Killer sound. Nice.
No one does bursts like Jeff.
They're amazing. They are really amazing.
Very consistent gradient.
Everybody's got their own, signature kind of thing happening, which is awesome because they're, seeing the same old thing all the time is going to get boring eventually. But, the Dale Fairbanks Sunburst next to the Kevin Kopp Sunburst, two totally different things. Then you got somebody like Jeff Jewitt. The Dana Bourgeois Burst is an absolutely amazing sunburst as well. There's a theme, Hondro. All sunburst top guitars.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do that next.
I like that.
Oh, baby. This is another one I've probably close to worn the strings out on this since it's come in the shop. Not very long ago at all. Folks, this is the Atkin 014. This is another from the Dustable series. This is actually the 014 Deluxe. Just a couple additional features compared to the 012S Dustable that we played a little bit earlier, which we will take a look at here if we could please. As you can see, this is a single 014 fret body, so a rather petite little guitar, but very comfortable. And despite its size, I will tell you, it puts out a heck of a big sound. One of the things, I'll say two of the things, differentiating this deluxe model compared to the non-deluxe guitar Dustable series that we looked at earlier is the binding and purfling on the body of this guitar. As we mentioned before, the 012S Dustable does not have any binding, certainly does not have any purfling. We've got a dark tortoiseshell binding on the body of this guitar, accompanied by some really nice kind of golden herringbone in there. Really a sharp look, especially right against that mahogany top. I'm going to get extra close here and step away from the microphone so I can show you the rosette, which is extra fine. Very tiny little strips of maple and black fiber on that the rosette there. And I only show you that because when I look down and see how fine and petite that is, I just smile every single time. I really love how simple but beautiful it is. Back and sides, I'm sorry, Hondro.
Oh, good.
Back and sides are matching Honduran mahogany, beautifully straight grained, and we'll hover over that finish again so you can see the nice checking all throughout the entire finish of this guitar. And I've talked to several finish folks, including people that do this type of treatment to especially flat top acoustic guitars, and they are really convinced in most cases that the presence of this checking sort of acts to break a surface tension over what would otherwise be a pure glass looking finish on a lot of these guitars. So breaking up the actual finish itself there does seem to give these like a looser, more supple kind of broken in feel and just overall vibe. They're on to something. I like how it looks. I like how it behaves. So we'll keep getting them. Got a nice rosewood veneer on the face of the headstock with that Atkin logo done up top there. Again, we've got the open gear Godot tuning machines here. Very traditional style. This guitar also has the 1 3/4 inch nut width with that nice, again, soft V profile, but again, definitely a vintage inspired feeling neck here. We also have the 2 1/4 spacing down here at the rosewood bridge as well. Also have an Indian rosewood fingerboard on the guitar. And again, fully scalloped out braces on this guitar, very lightly built, just like the 012S we played earlier. Very light little guitar here. As it should be. like that the focus of the sound of this guitar, without question, is very fundamentally bass, no question about it. But I'll say there is just a bit of air happening around those fundamentals in this one that are a lot of fun. Just gives it a little bit more dramatic sustain, a little bit more of a hanging on to that ringing quality a little bit more. I really, really like that. Guitar might not have the most headroom of any guitar that we have in the store, but I tell you, the acceleration it has when you just give it a little bit, it's like, man, it's right there. When I say I think these folks are nailing it, I cannot possibly mean that anymore. Awesome. And as I said, we've got some beauties in stock now, and we've got some more on the way. Literally right now, they're in transit, and can't wait to see more of what they do. They're a newer company for us in the shop here, and I have just really loved everything they've sent us. And the folks that we have sold a few of their guitars to have been enthusiastic to let me know how much they're enjoying their guitars they've gotten from us.
And Matt, James Bertels is curious what pickups you prefer for small-bodied acoustic guitars.
James, that's a good question, and frankly, in general, I don't prefer pickups in small body or large body guitars. But if you gotta have one for the sake of the gig, which believe me, I appreciate, I still think the K&K Pure Mini is the way to go. And I say that perhaps especially in the case of a small body guitar, because again, small guitar, generally it ought to be light, it ought to be responsive, it ought to really sort of bend to your will. And, loading up a nice, light, responsive guitar with a, I don't want to say heavy duty pickup. I don't know what word I'm looking for though. A more involved pickup. You're adding weight to the top in certain places, whether it be here or adding weight to the bridge plate. And as much as we might want to pretend like none of that exists, it's got to make a difference in the voice of what these things do, both acoustically and when you plug them in. I like the K&K Pure Mini because it is such a simple system. It's such a lightweight system. And it's kind of the idea if you aren't physically plugging the guitar in most cases, a lot of people wouldn't even know that there's a pickup in the guitar to begin with. There's no batteries. It's a passive system for those of you that aren't familiar. K&K Pure Mini is probably going to be my answer until somebody comes up with something so much better, which, who knows when that will be, if ever. But good question. Appreciate it, James. Folks, we've reached another iris off the wall, and as I mentioned earlier, if you have been with us for the duration, this is the first, not only of this model, this is the first of this specific wood combination as well. This is the MS00, and if you know anything about iris guitars, you might have caught on by now that the titles of most of their, pretty much all of their models, whether it be the DF, the OG, the CH, or the MS, those letter designations are in fact initials from the folks who inspired the builds, the particular models for Iris to build. MS being the designation for Mr. Mark Stutman of Folkaway Music up in Canada there, very much so the perhaps the planet's resident vintage Gibson, especially the flat top acoustic Gibson realm is very much so where he lives. As you can see, this is very much so a kind of an L00 style shape and size, if you will. And we will, in fact, let's just go ahead and take a look at the woods now because I'm getting excited. This is a reclaimed redwood top that the folks at Allied Luthery there, Mr. Adam Buckwald, was able to source from an old bridge that was taken down in California. I don't know all of the exact details of exactly where that was or exactly the time frame when the bridge actually stood and functioned, but I know that it no longer is there, and in the form it was in at least. So these redwood beams that were a part of that bridge were reclaimed, obviously resawn, and turned into some incredible guitar tops, thanks to Allied Luthery there. So we've got a beautiful California reclaimed redwood top on this guitar with striking look all the way across. Almost looks like sinker redwood, but I understand that it is not. It is just reclaimed redwood. Back and sides of this guitar are a painfully beautiful set of plum pudding mahogany. And you can see how multi-dimensional it is. The camera is even having trouble focusing on it. It's confusing our lens here. It's moving so much, but really beautiful figure to this mahogany. Beautiful color as well. We've got a very dark tortoise shell binding around the body of the guitar. And if you looked closely, and if you're a wood nut like we are, you may have noticed the snakewood bridge. Very handsome, especially against that redwood top. We also have a matching snake wood fingerboard. I'm going to bring this a little closer here just so you can get it up close. Really a beautiful fingerboard and bridge pair there with just tiny dot inlays you can see on the face of the fingerboard. And of course we have that classic iris headstock with the iris logo real big there. Again, golden age tuning machines on this guitar with the off-white buttons there. This guitar we were lucky enough to bring home from the Fretboard Summit a couple of weeks ago. This was one of the sort of guitars that they brought to show off at the Fretboard Summit. I played it for about 20 seconds and asked Adam Buchwald there immediately, is this thing sold? Because if not, we definitely want it. And he was gracious enough to let us take it home with us. And I can't wait to see where this guitar ends up. I sincerely hope that it's my house, but or at least somewhere in St. Louis. Just an incredibly unique sound, man. I don't think I've ever heard a guitar shaped this way that sounds this way. It's just incredibly unique. Great for fingerstyle, but it sure sounds good when you lean into it a little bit as well. Probably wouldn't make this my primary, bluegrass flat picker or whatever, but it sure can handle getting loud and getting a little attitude to it when you need to. Man, great guitar.
Do you notice any tonal difference between the plum pudding and different kinds of mahogany versus other types of mahogany?
I understand, and I should have another conversation with Adam about this because he's the one that would really know. I understand that it's got more density to it. It's a harder material than your usual typical whatever that means Honduran mahogany. And so there tends to be a little bit more brilliance of sound, a little bit more information, especially in the trebles of those. And so it gives you that sort of crispness to it, but without being too bright, too shrill or kind of barky sounding. And I got to say that redwood top, which is clearly a very old redwood top, is the perfect mate to that mahogany on the back and sides. And I dare say the shape and size of that guitar is a perfect combination. You heard it, you already know, but it really just came together in a beautiful way. And I totally understand why they brought that guitar to show off. So
Didn't he call it something else too? He said certain people call it like jaguar claw or like something like that.
was that you that said that, or was that him?
No, I didn't say that. I don't.
Sounds like something you would say.
Well, yeah, it sounds cool.
No, he said he showed it to somebody and they said, "Don't call it plum pudding, call it Jack."
Oh,
That's
okay.
what it
Someone
was.
else renamed
I think
it. I'm with them. Yeah,
I
we
think it
call
was
it Jaguar
a
Claw.
joke, but leave it to Hondro to take jokes too literally. No, I'm just kidding. Man, speaking of crisp. Folks, we have reached a gorgeous, gorgeous Lowden off the wall. This is an S35 model, the S designation meaning small body in Lowden's terminology there. Very much so fits the criteria for what we're looking at today in the small body flat top acoustics. This has a rather charming, not only tone wood combination, just the way it's been dressed even around the tone woods is pretty darn sharp, I've got to say. Let's take a gander here if we could, Hondro. We've got a beautiful western red cedar top on this guitar. Just beautiful as can be. You can see that kind of hand-rubbed finish that they do. Contrasted by that nice clear pickguard that they put on the face of the guitar. Nice silhouette there, ever so subtly popping through that kind of softer finish. Beautiful abalone rosette there, kind of a single ring abalone rosette. We've got a Guatemalan rosewood bridge on this particular guitar. They kind of have varying different materials that they use for bridges on different guitars. We do have an ebony fingerboard, however. Totally blank ebony fingerboard, very clean looking. The classic ebony veneer on the face of the headstock and that nice maple Lowden logo all the way up top. Back and sides of this guitar, again, a perfect pair for a western red cedar top, is a gorgeous set of figured walnut on this guitar. This is a beautiful set of Claro walnut and framed beautifully, including that nice thin backstrip, framed in a beautiful curly maple on this guitar. I really love the kind of brighter colored binding, especially set off by that curly maple body bevel there that they do. Just such a classic feature on their guitars. Very nice without being too much. They don't go overboard with having a huge bevel there, but just enough to take that edge off your right forearm from when you're playing. Definitely a very effective feature that I do like. I want to look at these back and sides one more time. It's just a beautiful set of walnut. And again, a great match for a Western red cedar top. As you can hear, it's a very detailed sound, lots and lots of note separation. However, one thing that oftentimes accompanies lots of note separation and clarity is an abundance of sparkling overtones. This guitar has a very measured level of overtones with, again, its focus being a little bit more in the fundamental quality of the notes. So it's what one might refer to as an honest guitar. It doesn't have your necessarily your grand piano presence behind it, but boy, it's got great sustain and almost a haunting quality to it, which is really nice. That's the guitar for minor keys right there, man. That is perfect. Really nice.
So, Randy Weimer is curious.
Nice.
Do most of these guitars that we're playing have the original strings? Have they been restrung? And when we are restringing them, or sorry, when they ship, do they mostly get shipped with D'Addarios? Or are some of these companies springing for Santa Cruz parabolics? I know that we usually use Santa Cruz parabolics when we restring them here. But yeah, I guess, do you know what most of these might be coming in with?
To answer your question, Randy, and thanks for joining us, by the way. If you don't know who Randy Weimer is, forget this live stream and open up a new tab, go to weimerguitar.com and educate yourself. Moving on. I believe all of the strings on all of the guitars that we have out today, believe it or not, are the original strings that came from the factory on each. Lowden, for example, they make their own strings, so this came with Lowden phosphor bronze strings on it. To be totally honest with you, I'm not totally sure what come on the Atkin guitars, because we haven't had one in long enough for me to take the strings off and see if they're colored ball ends or not. I don't know. Feels like it might be a coated string, definitely not an elixir though. The Iris guitars, I believe they were coming with Santa Cruz low tension parabolics on the Iris. I believe they're being shipped now with D'Addario. Somebody please correct me if I'm wrong. Again, Adam Buchwald would know if he's around. I believe the Jeff Jewitt has D'Addario EJ16s. I know the Collings here has D'Addario EJ16s, and the Furch over here definitely has a coated string. I'm not sure if those are elixirs or another brand's coated strings. But to answer your question, yes, they are all stock strings. We only change them if they are pretty deliberately in need of a change. Otherwise, we kind of let them do their own thing. But good question, Randy. folks, this guitar just came in about 2 hours ago, so it's still, string-wise anyway, still stretching out a bit, so... Wow. I must be a simple guy. One chord is all it takes sometimes. Folks, we have reached a masterfully put together Froggy Bottom R14 Deluxe. As I said, this guitar is literally right off the FedEx Express truck here, sent to us just this week from Froggy Bottom. A truly unique creation here. Let's take a gander here, Hondra. I'm going to lose it. Again, kind of an L-double-O shaped body, perfectly accompanied by a black top finish. And underneath this opaque black top, which you can see is very much so a mirror there, is an Adirondack spruce top. The Adirondack tops from Froggy Bottom are phenomenal. They're responsive. They will definitely grow into themselves, but I tell you from day one, they have a beautiful maturity to them that is kind of unique to Froggy Bottom, I've got to say. You can see this guitar is trimmed in a extra curly maple binding there, just a highly dimensional maple binding around the body. Back and sides are a gorgeous, gorgeous set of figured walnut. Once again, I believe I need to double check this with Mr. Millard and Andy there, but I believe this is Bastogne walnut, if I'm not mistaken, and I will confirm that to make sure, but a beautifully figured set. The color is phenomenal. The abalone back strip there looks just beautiful against that nice figured wood. And the heel cap even is a nice detail. That's more of a kind of a bird's eye maple than it is a flamed or quilted maple, but a beautiful, beautiful touch on the heel cap there. And if you didn't notice, the entire back of the neck is also painted black to match the blacktop finish. Just a super, super classy, very tasteful look to this guitar. Again, especially just with that maple kind of popping against the black finish there. That nice medium-toned walnut back and sides kind of tying the whole thing together. Very, very classy. We have the full-length fleur-de-lis inlays going all the way the length of the fingerboard there. Just a perfect touch for this guitar. Nice splash of color on that ebony fingerboard. We also have a beautiful Madagascar rosewood veneer on the face of the headstock with, of course, that classic abalone frog logo all the way up top there. Standard nickel Waverly tuning machines on this guitar. We also have the standard 1 3/4 inch nut width. We do have a wider than standard 2 5/16 spacing down here at the ebony pyramid bridge on this guitar. Again, that pyramid bridge being sort of an option upgrade compared to the straight bridge that would normally be on this guitar. Admittedly, we have not had very many Froggy Bottom R14 models in our shop, but after the last couple that we've had here recently, I will definitely be putting more of these on order, especially this one here is really Adirondack and Walnut back and sides is just spectacular sounding. Just the right presence of mids with just a beautiful balance throughout the rest of the range there. What a way to cap off a live stream, folks. And we have reached the end of the line here. As always, I'm going to ask if, to those of you viewing with us live here, if anything specifically spoke to you throughout the course of today's live stream. Handro, we'll start with you. What spoke to you, if anything, off the wall today? Put you on the spot.
Oh. I don't know. I do have a special spot for that Iris MS00
Yeah.
plum pudding. Something very subtle about it.
Yep.
That I like. And I like how lightly built it is.
It surely
Super comfortable
is.
to play. Just, when you're playing, you just feel it on you.
Yep.
It obviously projects, but you feel it a lot too. So
Yep.
Cool.
That is a good one for sure.
Looks like we got... Japan Company said the top three are the Collings, the Jewitt, and then the Froggy Bottom, with
Nice.
the runner-up being the Burst Iris.
Nice.
Boom said the Froggy definitely spoke to me the most. What a stunner. Paul said Iris MS00. Yep.
Nice.
David Vandermillen said Collings.
That Iris is such a unique build with the snakewood, bridge and fingerboard and everything. That I don't think it's going to last long enough for me to save my pennies for it, I'm afraid. But somebody's going to be real pleased with that little guy there.
John Caywell's pretty impressed with the Froggy.
Yeah, rightly so, John. This would probably be one that's right up your alley for sure.
Uh-oh.
Did you see the
Lights
freaking
out.
black neck? Look at that. It looks so good.
Well, the landlord turned the lights out, so might be time to
Oh, yeah, I sure did.
No, my battery died.
Well, folks, got anything else for me there, Hondero?
Randy said the Collings, then the Froggy.
Nice, nice. Yeah, we when Randy was in last, we played that Collings, and I know that definitely spoke to him. I wouldn't mind hearing him play that guitar for about 4 days straight, if that were
We can set that up, right?
Sleep on the floor down here. Folks, as always, we really, really appreciate you spending part of your Friday afternoon with us here. We have just a delightful time sharing these guitars with you folks, and so appreciate you joining us here. Please join us again in the future. Of course, we'll have a live stream announcement before we go live. And not to be cheesy, but I will be. If you're not subscribed to our channel already, do that. And of course, that little notification bell is there, so you will get notifications when we put new videos up, or even put live stream announcements up, so you can kind of get a heads up on those. I know some folks tend to miss them when they're live and then go back and rewatch them, which we love as well, believe me. But if you can catch them live and interact with us a bit here, we sure love doing that. So thank you. Hondro, anything else from you?
Not for me, man. Just have a good weekend, everybody.
Indeed, yeah. We're gonna go hopefully enjoy a bit of decent low humidity weather for once this weekend, I hope, at least. And everybody have a safe and happy one. We'll catch you in a couple weeks or so.